Coming to you from Milwaukee, Wisconsin by way of Stone Mountain, Georgia, birthed by the great state of South Carolina, is the Bryant Land Country Podcast, your place for any and everything in hunting, fishing, sports, and outdoor related, with heavy doses of randomness, guests, and an all-around good time. Here's your host, proud Gamecock, South Carolina forever, AB3.
All right, now welcome to another episode of the Bryant Land Country Podcast. I am your host, AB3, and as I am laying down the track for this open, I am back in Georgia, Stone Mountain, Georgia, finishing up the NBA All-Star break, taking some time off, enjoying the break, recharging the batteries, getting ready to put the final touches on the NBA grind for the rest of the season. I've enjoyed being home the last few days, got some work done down on my property, got to hang out with the kids for a little bit, had a good time with them. So it's been a really good all-star break. I've really enjoyed it, really enjoyed the time off. Now, as for my guest this week, a fellow by the name of Christopher Jones. Now, Christopher is interesting to me, and I think you guys are going to find it interesting. It's a young man who has tapped into his Native American heritage. Chris builds his own bows. He goes out, picks out the trees, does all the shaping, builds his own bows, makes his own strings, makes his own arrows, makes his own broadheads, does everything original. And for somebody at his age to do that, to me, was really impressive and very interesting. About a month ago, I caught up with Chris via Skype. We sat down, we had a conversation. Really enjoyed talking to this young man, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy my conversation with Christopher Jones. So kick back, relax, and take a listen to my conversation with Christopher. Hey Chris, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate you making the time.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate you bringing me on, man. Thank you for considering me.
Oh, no problem. It's one of those things, like I was saying in the introduction, like I was combing through your Instagram one day, and I'm on Instagram a lot, just kind of looking at just different profiles and different, people's pictures and stuff, and I came across yours and I was blown away. So, cause I saw jewelry, and I saw bows, and I saw broadheads and arrows, and it was not stuff that you get from your local archery shop. So my first question is, what is your background? Because if I go by my own deductive reasoning, so I just want to see how close I was. Are you Chickasaw Native American?
Yes. I have come from descend from Chickasaw ancestry. I also descend from Muskogee Creek ancestry as well, African American ancestry, of course, and European American ancestry.
Nice. Good job by me with the investigative deducting reasoning. So the first thing I want to talk to you about and just kind of get in depth about with you is like making your own bows. Like, how did you start with that? Is that something that was passed down to you, like from your mom and dad or grandparents, or how did you get started with that and get into that?
So growing up, man, I had always had an interest in Native American culture, and that was like something that played like a really big part of my life, like of my upbringing and my growing up. I was a kid. I really loved reading. And my mom, she would always take me to libraries, as a young man, and, just let me read any book I wanted to read, she let me read. I just always felt really deeply connected to, Native culture and Native American ancestry and everything like that. And, I would just read about all these different things about, hunting and, different tribes and stuff. I asked my great grandma about it one day, and she's like, yeah, we're actually Native. And I'm like, oh, really? This triggered just a deep desire in my heart to learn more, man, and brought me to, the hunting aspect of it. And I was like, man, I really want to learn how to make my own bows. So I literally went out into the woods, harvested a tree that I just cut down. It was my first tree I harvested. I cut it down with a saw. It was a hickory tree, and I cut it down. Wasn't any bigger than, I'd probably say about maybe 10 inches in diameter. And I had a knife, and I had an axe, and I literally tried to carve it into a bow, and that was my first beginnings of making bows.
Wow.
That started everything.
How old were you when you were doing that?
My first bow that I ever made, I was 13 years old. That was the first bow that I had ever made. Yep, I was 13, and I wish I still had that bow today, but I don't actually. It actually ended up breaking on me because at that time I wasn't, too keen and on the understanding of tillering and, strength and draw weight and everything like that. So it was pretty weak, and it ended up breaking on me. But that desire to do it triggered my desire that I have now and going forward with it.
So did you harvest anything with that bow? Did you get like a deer or anything with it?
I still have yet to harvest anything with the bows that I've made. That's actually one of my goals, man, that I'm trying to get better at right now. I shot at, rabbits here and there and squirrels and everything, but haven't taken anything yet with it. No.
Okay. Just the fact that, you had that inside of you to go and do it is just completely interesting to me. So when you went, to go pick out the tree and all that stuff like that, did you know what tree you were looking for? Did you know, like, as far as like the shape of it, like, did you have somebody to work with you to work on it, or like, how did that work?
You know what? I literally went out. I had always, did research on, just everything in the woods, man, in nature. I've always had a peak interest in. I've always felt very drawn to it. So I would just look up on, websites like, okay, what does a hickory tree look like? How do I identify a hickory tree? How do I identify a black walnut tree or, a red oak tree? So I studied these leaves and everything and, the different nuts and fruits that they produce. And I just went in the woods and studied, man. I was like, okay, I realized, okay, that one's right there. That's a shagbark, or, that's a pig nut hickory right there. And I found that and I just picked one, and I literally just went out by myself, man, and literally did it by myself. Like, I had no help or anything. I saw a picture of a bow that I wanted to replicate, and I literally tried to do the best to transform it into that. Yep.
Just from the picture, no blueprints or anything like that?
Nothing, man. No blueprints or anything. Literally just a hatchet and a knife. And that was it.
Wow.
Yep.
So the hatchet and a knife, cut down the tree. About how tall was the tree? I know you said it was like 10 inches wide or 10 inches in circumference, but diameter. How tall was the tree?
The tree, it was about, I probably have to say, I'm a short guy, man, so I'm only 5'4". So the tree was probably about, yeah, I'm short, man. So the tree, it was probably only about maybe 6 foot, yeah, at the highest.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. And you got one bow out of that tree?
Yep, one bow out of that tree. Yep, just one out of that one. Yeah.
Okay. Now, with those, did you get, like, is that like on a farm? Like, you guys have like a family farm, or how did you?
We don't, man. The funny thing is, I grew up in suburban area.
Okay.
So I wasn't too far from the city, but I wasn't too far from, the rural areas either. So I literally went on this, it was an area behind the house that I was living at the time, and it had like a little creek bottom running through it. And I literally just walked down there. I used to walk down there all the time because you could go fishing and stuff in that little creek. So I would just walk down there, man, and just go, explore the woods. It always made me feel like I was, set back in time, in a different time.
Sure.
I would just go walk back there by myself, and I just went back there, man. I saw a hickory tree. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go cut that one down right there. My mom was like, what are you doing bringing all this stuff in the house? At the time, like I said, I was 13. So she's like, what are you doing bringing all this stuff in the house? You need to go do that outside. I'm like, Mom, I need to get this done. I got to do this.
Trying to stifle you, man. Like, no, I got to do it. It's like the old, what is it? I forgot the group, but it's like the old Mama, I just want to sing or whatever. It's like, Mama, I just want to make my bows.
Oh, yeah. I was like, let me live, Mom. Let me be great. I just want to do this.
Oh, man, that is so awesome.
Oh, man. Thank you, brother.
So how many bows have you made so far? First of all, how old are you?
I am 28 years old.
Okay.
Yep.
So give or take, you've been making your own bows for about 15 years.
Yes.
Okay. How many have you made since then? And are you still, like, do you make one every year, or like how does that work?
Well, I try to make bows. I try to do it as often as I can, when I can, because of course, we all got to work, but I have one bow that I had made last year. That was just a regular D-style hickory bow, no backing or nothing like that, no handle, just a flat D bow. And then I'm working on another bow that I got right now. That kind of has a handle on it. And then I'm working on a Lakota horse bow that I got some inspiration from this Lakota guy by the name of Richard Gallegos. He's actually a bow maker also. He's from, I believe he's from Pine Ridge, if I'm not mistaken.
Pine Ridge, Missouri?
Pine Ridge, I believe it's North Dakota. North Dakota or South Dakota, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a part of the Lakota Nation, so I'm really, really big on his work, too. I try to look at a lot of different bow makers, man, kind of study their work. Yeah, that's what I'm working on so far, yeah.
Okay. Now, are there any plans to continue to make your own custom bow, maybe start like your own custom bow line or anything like that?
You know what? It's so funny. I actually was talking to my girlfriend about that, man. She was like, yeah, you know, that's something that you have a passion for, that you're talented at. She was like, why don't you start a business? And I was like, I never thought about doing that. But now, it's been really weighing heavily on my mind. I'm like, man, like they always say, it's a real honor to do something that you love.
Yes.
Every day and make a living off of it, So I've been really thinking about that heavily.
Well,
I've really been thinking about it.
I will give you my own unsolicited advice. If you can, I would definitely do it. I don't know what you do for a living, but my background is in media and sports television, and I direct, live television games and stuff, and I love it. I love what I do. The reason why I'm doing this is because it's something else that I've found that I love, but I will tell you from personal experience, if you can find something that you absolutely love and you can do it for yourself, that is a win-win, my friend.
Oh man, that man say, hey, that's what I'm trying to make happen, brother. I'm trying to make it happen. I just want to be happy, man. I think at the end of the day, the essence of everything, everybody just wants to be happy, man, and do something that they can, enjoy and be able to feel like they're giving back in some kind of way. You know what I mean? Because that's what's paramount for me. Feeling like I can give back to the world, so doing something bigger than myself. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But also, instilling a touch of history in what I do. Also, that's very important to me as well.
Well, to me, that's what's so cool about it. I mean, just to take the time to do something like that's handcrafted. I mean, there are definitely no shortcuts. So when you sit down to make a bow, like how long does it take? Like how does the process work? Like walk us through the process step by step, and then how long does that normally take?
Most definitely. Well, as far as time goes, I mean, somebody can get a bow done. It just depends on what kind of time you're working with. I mean, you can get a bow done in a day. You can get a bow done in a couple days. You can get a bow done in a month. It all really just depends on, how much time you're granted. First, the process, what I usually do, I'll go into the woods and harvest a tree, maybe hickory or, black walnut or sassafras, whatever tree that I, want to harvest at that time. And what I'll do from there, I'll split it, and I usually get some steel wedges, and I'll split it into like about fours or whatever, because I try to split into staves. That's what you want to typically do. You want to split the bow wood into staves. And then what I do with those staves, oh, you go ahead. I'm sorry, brother.
No, you're good. I was going to say, when you say staves, what do you mean by that?
A bow stave is basically a piece out of the wood. So just think about a circle, and think about splitting that circle into four. So splitting that circle into four pieces, you get 4 pieces out of that one tree. That's a stave. That's just a long piece of that wood out of that tree that you cut down.
Gotcha.
And what you do with that, after you cut it down, a lot of people do it different ways. Everybody has their own method. But you could, seal it. You want to seal it because you want to go ahead and let it season. And all season it means is that you're letting that wood dry. Because once you let the wood dry, it gets harder. And that's what you want for a bow. You want your bow wood to be dry. You want it to be hard. Okay. Not too dry to where it'll snap.
Right.
But you want it to be dry enough so that those fibers will solidify, and they stay strong under strength. You can seal it with candle wax. Some people use glue. Some people use paint. That's what I typically use.
Mm-hmm.
Once you do that, you'll let it dry for anywhere from, 6 months to a year, thing like that. Sometimes shorter.
Wow.
Some people work it green. Working it green is basically just taking that bow after you cut it down, cutting it and, shaping it up into the shape that you want it to, and just putting it away to let it dry.
Man.
But, it's a process, man. It's definitely a process. Once you do that, you let it dry for a while. You could take the bow out and you could start, using a pencil to kind of draw the dimensions of it, how you want it to be, how wide, how narrow you want the, how you want the taper.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you usually, only tools I use to make bows, literally only tools. I use a hatchet,
mm-hmm.
a Fisker's hatchet.
Mm-hmm.
I use a draw knife, an old draw knife that I bought on eBay for like $13, a farrier's rasp, and some sandpaper. And that's literally, and a knife. And that's all I use to make bows. And you literally just carve that bow out. Usually just chop it out on the sides, chop it down. You know, you reduce the width of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you want to reduce the, you know, the length of it, or, you know, the inside, the belly of the bow. You want to start carving that down, you know, and profiling the shape. And then once you get it to where you say, okay, I can start seeing a bow in this, you want to start floor tillering it. All that means is that you're basically just trying to get the bow to bend. You're starting to see it be able to bend.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you start to get excited, man, you know, but once again, it's a process, man. You don't want to rush through this, you know. You don't want to rush through it because, you know, sometimes you get happy and you take off too much wood, and once you take off too much wood, you can't really put it back.
Right.
You know,
right.
So then your draw weight is under where exactly. So you're aiming for 60-pound draw, but then you go too fast and you end up coming out with a 30-pound.
Wow.
Which is still fun to shoot, but, you know, if you want something to hunt with, you want to take your time with it.
Right, because I think I saw where it's like at least like 40, I think like 45 pounds or something like that in order to be able to like be able to penetrate like a deer or anything, any kind of big game animal.
Oh, yeah.
But but my thing is like with that, these are what, you know, people call trad bows. So when you're talking about a 60-pound draw weight, there's no let off. Like that is a true 60-pound.
Oh, yeah. That's a full 60 pounds that you're pulling back.
Wow.
That's full 60 pounds, man. So you gotta practice. And that's another thing with it. You know, I am not a professional. I'm not a professional by any means. I'm simply just a guy that loves history, that loves culture. Mm-hmm. And that loves, you know, making things from my own hands, man. That's something that's paramount for me. You know, I'm not a professional. Like I said, I haven't even harvested any game with the bows that I make yet, but I know that it will happen.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm sure of it.
Well, I mean, if you're making your own, I mean, obviously, so you know your weapon better than anybody else. And then as you're working with it, you're practicing with it and getting it, you know, getting better and better with it. So, I mean, yeah, it's only a matter of time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, brother. Yep. So it's all in time. And I feel like, you know, with something that you made, that you harvested, you know, that you made yourself and that, you know, you created, I feel like, you know, it's so much, you know, nostalgia and so much, you know, appreciation and pride behind it, you know?
Right.
Because, you know, man, I mean, you know, I commend any guy that can go out into the woods, man, and they can take a deer with the bow. You know, we all know how hard that is to take a deer with the bow, man.
Right.
You know, anybody can take a deer with a gun. That's easy. You know, but taking the deer with the bow, man, you got to get so much closer. You got to be, you know, so much more aware of your surroundings, aware of everything that's going on in the woods. You got to play your cards right.
Right.
You got to play the wind right. You know what I mean? All those things go into having a successful hunt.
Yep.
But going into the woods, man, and with just a self bow, literally a wood bow that you made from a tree, no sights, no knock points, nothing like that. You're just shooting right off the hand.
Ooh, man.
That's man.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother ball game.
And I take my hats off to trad bow shooters all day long because, I mean, first of all, I love bow hunting. So, I mean, I have a compound Matthews Triax, and then I have a Matthews Halon. I started out shooting a bear.
Oh, nice.
But
very nice.
Hey, right.
Shout out
You
to
know,
Fred
the Godfather Fred Bear. But I have absolutely no desire to try to go out and hunt with a trad bow. Like, I want to shoot one. Like, I have shot a couple of trad bows, like when I first started out, just to kind of get like a feeling or whatever. But I cannot imagine being in a situation, even if you just have like a doe. I mean, much less the buck that you're chasing or whatever the case is, but just to have a doe right there, and then to have, you know, that moment of truth right there in front of you. You got no sights, no let off, anything like that. And you basically not only got to calm yourself enough to make all the measurements and stuff in your head, because like you say, there's no sight. So it's like you got to, you know, make sure your aim and then wind and then the trajectory of your arrows and stuff like that. That's a lot to think about when that moment of truth hits. So more, you know, more power to you trad bow guys. My hat's off to y'all.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
I will be
Oh,
just
man.
the old compound shooter for as long as I can. And what I always tell people,
I know that's
I
right.
always tell people, like, I'm fortunate, 41, I haven't been cut on. Like, I don't have, any problems with shoulders or, any kind of surgeries or anything like that so far. So I will.
That's a blessing, brother.
Right. It is a huge blessing. So I will continue to shoot a compound bow for as long as I can. And then when I can't, I will transfer over to a crossbow. Like, nothing exciting. No, and not a knock on anybody that rifle hunts or anything like that, but there's just nothing that excites me about, rifle hunting. I love bow hunting. I bow hunt hogs, turkeys, deer. And if I can't, if it gets to the point where I can't do it with a compound, then I'll just switch over to a crossbow. But yeah, hats off.
That's awesome, man. That's actually what my grandfather, man, my granddad, he started off, and that's actually who got me into the whole hunting thing, man. My grandfather, 12, I think, how many grandkids is out of 12 grandkids? And I'm the only one that deer hunts with my granddad, man. It does anything outdoors with my granddad.
Is he still alive? Y'all still hunt together till this day?
Oh, yeah, yeah, he's still alive, man. Going 63 years strong, man, and still hunts, man, to this day.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Still hunts, and I love him, man. He's my right hand man for life, Yeah.
Now, how does he feel about the trad bows and your bow making and stuff? Does he come down and help you out every now and then, or how does that go?
You know what? He's actually never really experienced or seen, my process of bow making. But I show him the bows that I'm working on or a bow that I made, and he's like, "Oh man, that's cool." He's like, "You should have brought that out this year when we went deer hunting."
Nice.
And I told him, I said, "Yeah, Granddad." I said, "I'm trying to get there. I ain't there yet, but I'm trying to get there."
Right.
Because in Missouri, our we don't have like a per se a minimum draw weight for bow hunting, but they recommend, Missouri Conservation recommends that a 40-pound draw.
Okay.
Just for, as far as ethics go, you know what I mean? 'Cause
right.
You never want to go out and just accidentally hit a deer, man, and it doesn't die, and just wound it. You don't want to go out there doing that or to the animal to make a clean ethic kill.
Right.
So
always.
Yeah.
So with when you choosing the trees, I heard you say, hickory, walnut, sassafras. Is there any one that you prefer over the other, or any one that does anything better than the other one, or?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that question. So the best, and this is the argument amongst most trad bow hunters, man, but the best bow wood out there, hands down, is Osage orange. A lot of people call it hedge apple, crab apple, horse apple. That's the best bow wood, man. That's the best bow wood. It's very resilient. It's very hard. It snaps back. It springs back in its intended shape and without problem. That's the best bow wood out there. Now, I also love hickory. And the reason why I love hickory, too, is because, hickory is just a hard, dense wood, man. It's a wood that's withstood the test of time throughout history. Everybody uses hickory wood, and I love hickory, man. It's also a traditional wood that was, used in, amongst many different tribes, in this nation of America, So hickory is the best wood to go with.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, so you got your bow, you got your bow carved out of your wood and everything. What are you using for the strings?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So lately what I've been using, I've just been using primarily artificial sinew. So, you can buy that on, so many different Hobby Lobby, all kind of different places. But I also use rawhide. So, deer rawhide for, bowstring. Okay. As well as, processed sinew already, twisted bowstring for sinew. Yep, just deer sinew.
Okay.
Yep.
So now.
Yeah. Also B50 Dacron too. That's a good bowstring.
And most of these, like you say, you get from like your Hobby Lobbies or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And most of them from Hobby Lobby. You can order on eBay too. I usually get a lot of stuff on eBay when I can. Yep. But what I've been trying to push towards, mostly nowadays is just making, just bowstrings from animal hides, So like I said, deer hide, make a good bowstring. You can use fox squirrel hide. Get about 3 fox squirrel hides and twist them down, and let them dry out. Of course, let them go to rawhide after skin them out and stuff and twist them down. And you can make bowstring out of fox squirrel hides and everything.
See, now that right there, that, kind of leads me into my next question, because I saw that you were big into tanning hides and stuff. So, because I know when we were talking before, you said you got like 15 or so deer hides.
Oh, yeah. I got tanning. 15 right now.
Wow. So that's what you'll use those for, is to make strings out of?
Yes, yeah, for bowstrings, bowstrings, moccasins, buckskin leggings, because I'm really into. I've always been really into, the 18th century, the French and Indian Wars, and just all, just any Native American history. I've always just been deeply, deeply, any cultural aspect of Native history has just always been mind blowing to me, and I've always connected on it on such a high and direct level, man. It's paramount to me. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Now, so when you finish, all right, so you got the bow, you got the string, you make your own arrows as well?
Yes. Now, the arrow making, that's something I'm not, I'll profess to say I'm not a professional at that by any means of the matter. Like I said, I'm just, these are things I love. So, it's a lot of trial and error with these things,
Sure.
Especially when you just learning it on your own.
Kind of like our podcast.
But,
our podcast is a trial and error. This whole thing is trial and error. So I totally understand what you mean.
Wait, man, well, you're doing a great job, man. You're doing wonderful.
I mean, I got a little bit of a media background, but I tell folks all the time, very transparent. This is a lot of this is trial and error. So, But anyway, continue. You say trial and error with your arrows.
Yeah. Now, with the arrow material, traditionally, in the Southeast, river cane was the big thing. River cane. And I've never had an opportunity to personally work with river cane myself, but I want to.
Okay.
But what I use dogwood shafts. I'll go out in the woods and I'll find a dogwood tree, and then I'll find, some, sproutlings, of dogwood, and I'll cut those down, I'll just cut those usually with a knife. And basically what I do, I cut about 12 dogwood shafts, probably about 3/8 in diameter, and probably about, maybe about 30 inches long.
Okay.
And I'll wrap them with thread or some roping, and then I'll let them dry. And I'll let those sit and dry, and then once they dry out, usually I'll let them dry for about 3 months. And then once they dry, I'll use, a torch or something, propane torch, and I'll heat it up, and start bending it to, straighten it out. Because, you got to let the wood season. That's the big thing, letting the wood season. Because if you don't let it season and dry out, if you try to work it when it's green, then when it does dry out, it's going to go back crooked again.
Ah, okay.
So the trick is, the trick is to let it dry out first. And then once you dry it out, you straighten it. And, of course, with the feathers and everything like that, I get the turkey feathers. Now, turkey feathers I've been buying on eBay because I still haven't been fortunate enough yet to harvest my first turkey. So I'm still waiting on that opportunity.
Man, you gotta keep at it. I got my first bird last year in Nebraska. It's easily the thing that I am most proud of in my short hunting career. I mean, called it in,
awesome,
with the combination of a mouth call and push box calls, like you push back and forth. Called it in probably about decoy was set at like 15 yards, and I think he came. Well, it was 4 of them, so they came in maybe like 5 yards inside of the decoy. So yeah, it was probably at about 10 yards with the bow, passed through.
Oh wow!
Arrow passed through him, and he kind of just spun around, and then he ran.
That's amazing!
A couple 100 feet, tried to fly and take off, and then just piled up maybe after flying 2 feet.
Oh man,
it was awesome.
Wow, brother! Wow, so you had a
it
man.
was awesome. It is one of those things where it went from okay, you see some hens, and then I kept hitting the call, and then the next thing you know, you just hear that big guard, and when people say thunder chickens, you can feel it in your chest when they're that close. It's just wow.
Man, see, I'm still chasing that experience,
it's
brother.
Unbelievable. And like I said, they came down a ridge, and I thought, he flew away. But luckily I looked, because I did have some of it on camera. I didn't catch the actual shot and pass through on camera, but I got him running and then flying and then falling down.
Wow.
And man, it was just wow. Yeah. Wow. Like I said, with a bow, and the fact that I called it in on my own is easily the thing that I am most proud of.
Brother, that's it, man. That's that experience that I'm talking about, man. It's nothing that beats that experience. When you're out there and you're in creation, man, and you get that deer in range, or you get that turkey in range, or you get whatever animal you're hunting in range, man, and your heart starts beating. You see everything just happening, before it's happening, and when it all connects, it's a blessing, man.
It is, and it's just a numbers game and a time game. Like as much time as you can put in, in the woods or in the fields and stuff, being out there, the more time you put in, the more you increase your odds. The problem with putting more time in is just because we have real life, things that you got to do, like going to work, paying bills, just little things like that kind of get in the way of stuff like that. But
yeah. Most definitely, brother.
So do you go with just raw turkey feathers, or are they already in veins, or like what are you doing there?
So they're like all this raw turkey feathers. So basically just coming right off the turkey, man. Mm-hmm. They haven't even been quilled, deveined, any of that stuff. They're just raw, man. And I process them, devein them and everything myself.
Wow.
Split them out and everything. In the Southeast, and I try to stay true to the way the people before me did it, as far as my Chickasaw ancestry and everything. And I try to use a fletching method that they use called a Southeastern two-fletch.
Okay.
And that was big in the Southeast. It's basically, instead of using a three-fletch, mm-hmm. I use a two-feather fletch, and that's what I try to use primarily, just to keep it traditional as possible.
Wow. Yeah. So wait a minute, only two. So like you said, instead of the three feathers, you just used the two?
Yeah, yep, I just use the two feathers.
Okay.
Yeah, I use a two-feather fletch, and basically what you're doing is you're taking two turkey feathers, but maybe either now they can't be from opposite wing sides. They have to be from the same wing side. So either, the left secondaries or, the right secondaries or the left primaries or the right primaries.
Huh.
And basically it's really cool, man. It actually conserves on a lot of feathers too.
Okay. Why do they have to be the same? Like, does it mess up like the flight pattern or something, or?
It does.
Okay.
It does. Because you're trying to get that helical, you're trying to get that propeller twist, that rifle twist, how the arrow, flies and everything. Right. And if you use, one is from the left and one from the right, it's just not going to fly the right way. It's not going to spin the right way. It's just not going to have that correct flight that you want. Going to be a lot of error in that flight. So you always want to get them from the same wing.
Okay.
And once you do that, you basically take both of them, and what you're doing is you're kind of using, I say probably about halfway down, you take them, you part the feathers in half, and then you split one side down. So you split in one side. Mm. And the way you're wrapping it, you're putting one side on the left side and one side on the right side. So it's almost like the feather is facing away from you on both sides, but that helps create that propeller twist that you want. And it also allows you to be able to use more feathers than, you would if you had a three-feather fletch. It allows you to conserve on the feathers, versus, using more that you have to do with a three-feather. Yeah.
So then where do you knock, because like on a three-feather, on the three-vein, two of the same color, and then the odd color one, that's your, where you knock your knock vein or whatever. How does that work when you only have two?
When you only have two, I typically just I look down it. I just cut the knock in and I just go with it. There's no rhyme or no rhyme or reason to it with me when I do it.
Uh-huh.
I just cut it down there.
Okay.
Kind of like, eye gauge it, and I shoot it. I see if it works.
Fair enough.
And that's probably not the best way to do it, by today's means. Sure. But thinking about, the way that it was done traditionally back in the day, man, I try to just do it that way. I try to think about, okay, like, how would I do this if I was back in that time? Yeah. So anything to try to connect to those old ways, man, I'm always through it about and always very interested in.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I'm picking up on the theme. So, that's totally awesome. So
thank you.
Bow, arrows, broadheads. What are you doing with because I thought I saw you making, like, is it a stone piece broadhead or a metal piece broadhead? Either way, you're making it. Is that right?
Yeah, making some metal piece broadhead.
Good
just
Lord,
out of like
dude.
stones.
You sitting on a little mini, and I don't mean mini in a disrespectful way, but you're sitting on a little mini gold mine here, dude. Like, between the arrows, the bow itself, and the broadheads. I'm kind of agree with your girlfriend. I'm like, what are you waiting on?
Thank you, Brett. Thank you. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that, man. That means a lot, man. I just, like I said, man, I really love, just the traditional ways of doing things, man. Like in today's world, man, in the modern world we live in, Native people don't get enough love. You know what I mean? They don't get enough love for all the contributions that they made to America, to hunting especially. You know what I mean? You don't see a lot of, Native guys out there, hunting, you know what I mean? And, having hunting shows or, even, us brothers for that matter, you know what I'm saying? Even as black guys,
Right.
because I still, give love and credit. I'm black and native, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to disheart one and not give love to the other.
Right.
But even with being, a brother too, man, it's like you don't see a lot of us out in these hunting shows and stuff and, getting love and the credit that we deserve.
Well, I mean,
you know what I
no,
mean?
You preaching to the choir. It's one of those things that I noticed when I first started, and it's part of the inspiration behind starting Bryantland Brand and, doing this podcast is just giving opportunities and bringing stories and, interesting, subject matter and people like yourself bringing and putting a light on it.
Thank you.
Because otherwise, people just wouldn't know about it or whatever. So no, you, like I said, you preach it to the choir. I totally I watch, outdoor and sportsmen, just like anybody else. And, yes, if you pay attention, there is a underrepresentation of brothers like ourselves and, like I said, our, Native Americans. But, I can only control what I feel like I can control. And that's why I was like, you know what, let's do this. And, with this brand and with Bryantland and, the podcast, just try to, shine a light on that.
Most definitely. Well, I think that's, honestly, brother, like that's one of the things that drew me to you guys' brand and Instagram page, man. When I saw your Instagram, I'm like, oh man, like this dude does exactly what I do. He loves what I do. What I love. You know what I mean? It's just like a lightning bolt of excitement just shot through my chest, man.
Right.
And it's so exciting, man. It's so crazy. Representation is such a big thing, like as you said. It's really amazing. Because when someone else sees, oh man, this guy's doing it, or this guy's doing it, maybe I could do that too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like. Yep. It just starts a whole domino effect, man.
Yep.
And even it's just even with the younger generation, man. Like my little brother, he's 15, and I took him out for the first time squirrel hunting, and he loved it, man. You know what I'm saying? So it's just starting that fire. It's starting that fire, man. It's starting, you building in this because kids nowadays all they have is video games, man.
Oh, I know.
They got the video games.
I know.
And I'm not knocking the video games, but it's like, hey, let me introduce you to something else, something that's pure, something that is peaceful, something that, is gonna, just make you think something differently. You know what I mean? Make you appreciate the natural environment. Let me introduce you to that.
Yeah. No, I do the same thing. I do the same thing with my son and my daughter. My daughter wants no part of the actual hunting, but she will have her plate ready when it's time to eat. My son, she wants no part of the actual hunting part. She loves the animals and don't understand why I have to go out there bothering them, as she says. But my son, like I bring him along and we have a good time. He doesn't hunt nearly as much.
Oh, okay.
Because of my travel, and me being able to take him out there and stuff, but he loves, fooling around with his bow and whatnot. And,
That's
if awesome. I tell him, it's like, hey, we're going to go, do whatever. Matter of fact, right now, his bow is the bow that I had because it was that Bear Cruiser, you can use that as an adult, but it's actually, and I didn't know it at the time when I was buying it, you can use it as an adult, but it's actually, made for like a kid and made for a kid like to grow into. So,
oh, wow.
So yeah, that's what he's shooting right now, and he hasn't taken anything with it, but he enjoys shooting it. Like we have a little shootout contest and stuff like that. So
and that's what it's about.
It's a good time.
That's what it's about, man. Honestly, I didn't harvest my first deer for 4 years, man. 4 years. I didn't get my first deer until 4 years later. And
wow.
Yeah, and I had been out there.
And now was that with a rifle or?
Yep, that was with a rifle. Yep, I had
a
rifle. That was with the rifle. I had a 30-06. It was a Remington 770, the 770 model, 30-06 bolt action. It was my granddad. He was like, hey, I'm taking you out hunting this year. You coming deer hunting with me? I was like, okay, cool. So I started getting all this stuff ready. I started, probably bought more stuff than what I needed at the time, because I was like, okay, I need this. I was getting sold on everything, and, man, went out there and we hunted on a conservation area because we don't have any land, that we own here personally in Missouri. Okay. So we always hunt public land. I'm a big advocate for public land, because public land doesn't get a lot of love, but there's so many great opportunities on public land, man. And,
with public, real quick, the thing with public land, and this is just what I've noticed. I understand the importance of public land, and I'm blessed, very blessed, and fortunate enough that I have land in Georgia that's mine.
Oh, nice.
That I can hunt.
Okay. right.
And then, because of my work schedule and stuff, when I do hunt, I take like a lot of outfitted hunts just because if you don't have time to scout, then you might as well just be peeing in the wind. Like you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
But, and I totally understand like the public land, and I'm as well, just like you understand the importance of public land. I just need the public land hunters to stop running around shaming everybody else. That's like, every,
I agree,
like
I
every
agree.
forum or like every like group that I'm in is just like the public land guys. It's just like, if you didn't do it on public land, then it's just like it didn't happen. It's just like, come on, man. We're all in the same boat here. Like we all love the sport. We all love, what we're doing. Like, can we just get on the same page? Like, can you guys just stop running around beating your chest and throwing stones, at the rest of us?
Hey, I understand. I totally understand, man. I know where you're coming from, brother, because, it's one of those things, it's like they start bashing, people that got property or land. It's like, you didn't work hard enough to get there.
Right.
It just came right to you. And it's like, come on, man. Like, even it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Even on land that you own, you didn't just gonna go out and shoot a deer and just expect it to run, exactly how you want it to.
We can do it.
Or at least chasing after the deer that you want.
We can do a whole nother podcast on just trying to get like deer to cooperate with
yes.
whether it's on public land, private land, outfitted land, whatever. Like we could just do another whole podcast on that. But I'm sorry, I just wanted to just throw that part in there. So you and your grandfather, you said you hunt on public land, and it was your first time taking your deer. You had a 30-06.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. They had 30-06, man, and we were down in southeastern, where it's kind of like southeastern-ish Missouri. It's in Crawford County, Missouri.
Okay.
So it's about an hour and 45 minutes away from St. Louis, south of St. Louis. And man, we got out there. I'm in my tree stand setting up. It's probably about 8 o'clock in the morning, man. I'm sitting out there, and I'm bundled up, got my summit climber. I'm in the tree. Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking around. I'm like, okay, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening, man. I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and hit this doe bleed, this Primos doe bleed can I had. And hit that Primos doe bleed can. And as soon as I looked to my right, just that fast, I saw a buck come right into that call, man.
Oh, wow.
Right into that call as soon as I hit it.
Wow.
And Adam, I tell you, if I have never heard of buck fever before, that was the perfect example of buck fever, man, because I locked eyes with that buck locked eyes with me, and I start shaking. I couldn't even raise my rifle up.
Wow.
I couldn't even raise my rifle up, man. It was staring dead at me, probably about 10 yards away, and I couldn't move a muscle. I just froze up, man. I just froze up. And it was a nice buck, man. It was a nice 8. It was about an 8 point. It was a nice 8 point, man. But it looked at me, ran off, man. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, it was one of the most incredible experiences I had ever seen in my life, man. And that was my opportunity to hit my first buck, but I froze up.
It happens. Oh, man. Shoot. This year I had, I took my first doe, my own property, with my bow.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. That's another one that I'm proud of as well. It still doesn't top the turkey, but the fact, of having do it on my own land and stuff, now I'm proud of that. But the buck that I was looking for, I missed by 1 minute. Like I have it on my on my trail cam. He was there feeding at 6:28. I heard him grunt when I walked in at 6:29, or should I say blow, and I got in the blind still, I got in my blind. About 8 o'clock, I got a text message from my cellular cam where it was him at 6:28, and then you just see me in my backpack at 6:29. It's just like, mother fricker. And it was, he was I think he was a 10. Antlers from the pictures, that antlers didn't look all that great, but he was a fat stud. He was a fat SOB.
Man.
I'm just by looking at his belly, I feel like he was pretty old, and I finally got him down, to a pattern where I was like, okay, he's going to keep hitting his feeder because he's checking for does and grabbing him, a little snack in the process. But yeah, he got away from me. So hopefully he survived, gun season, and then hopefully I'll see him next fall. But that's part of the game. That's how it goes.
It does, man. It does, and it's one of those things, it's a gamble. You never know. You walk in those woods, man, and you never know what can happen. You know what I mean? You can walk right into the biggest buck of your life and see them there, or you can, have a day where it's just you don't see anything that entire day.
Right.
But the blessing of it, man, is just being in creation and, getting that opportunity to get away from all, the day-to-day things and, in work life, man, and the rut, as they call it, of life, man, and getting back out there and connecting with, creation.
Definitely. So now you said you're in St. Louis?
Yeah, yep, I'm in St. Louis. Yeah, born and raised, man, in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah, most of my family is from Arkansas and Oklahoma. It's so funny. My grandfather, he's not my grandfather that I was talking about that I hunt with, but my dad's dad.
Mm-hmm.
He's no longer with us. I actually never got to meet him, but he's from Stuttgart, man, the duck capital of the world. So all my family is from. On the Arkansas side, from Stuttgart, man. Stuttgart and Little Rock. And I've never been out there, man, but I want to get out there soon.
That's bananas because I'm going back down there in about a week to finish up waterfowl season, finish up doing some duck hunting. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it'll be my third time going to Arkansas. My second year and third time. I went once last year. This will be the second time I'm going this year. Yeah, I enjoy it. That is definitely a blessing. Obviously people have been talking about it, like you said, it's the duck capital of the world. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's amazing. So.
Oh man. So hey man, I got to get down there, man, cuz I have so much family down there, man. So much family down in Arkansas, and I've never been down there, like my grandfather, my dad's dad, he died when my dad was only 5. So my dad never even really got to know his dad, man, so.
Oh wow.
I got a lot of family down there, man. I've never been down there. I gotta make that happen.
I was about to say, you in St. Louis. If I can make that drive from Milwaukee, then you can definitely make it from St. Louis.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So we all in that in the Midwest swing, as they say, man.
Yeah, yep. Exactly. So, but Chris, I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to get out of here. Tell the people where they can find you at. Tell the folks about your Instagram so they can go and check out those custom bows.
Indeed, man. So, you guys can find me at _ not your average Joe. That's my Instagram page where you guys can find me at, man. I got, bow making on there, brain tanning, arrow making, just foraging, all kind of things, man. If you're interested in, primitive skills or, primitive things or native things, just come check me out.
Cool. Chris, I appreciate you.
Hey, Adam, I appreciate you too, brother. Thank you so much, man, for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. I love Bryant Land, man. I'm a big supporter. Always going to be a big supporter. I thank you so much, man.
Man, I appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. You have a great one.
All right. I want to say thank you to Christopher Jones for joining us on the Bryant Land Country Podcast. Oh, Chris is doing some amazing things, and I can't wait to hopefully get to see one of his bows up close and personal. If I get to take a trip out to St. Louis over the summer, I definitely want to look Chris up and stop and chop it up with him, talk some hunting, and like I said, possibly get my hand on one of his custom bows. If you like Chris's podcast, or my conversation with Chris, I should say, then you should definitely be subscribing to the Bryant Land Country Podcast. Make sure you leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. You can get us wherever you get your podcast: Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, TuneIn, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast at. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, but we will be back next week with another great episode of the Bryant Land Country Podcast. Thank you all so much. But make sure you tell 5 people to tell 5 more people, and make sure to tell them to subscribe. All right.
Thanks for listening to the Bryant Land Country Podcast, hosted by AB3. Please leave us a positive review and 5-star rating on iTunes. Be sure to check out our podcast section on our website, BryantLandCountry.com, for previous podcasts. Check us out on Instagram at Official Bryant Land and Twitter at 3BryantLand. This has been an AB3 Media production. Join us next time for another edition of the Bryant Land Country Podcast.